my co-host tweeted something out today, which
As
I thought,
like to do.
Yeah. And it says, of note, well, you read it, Shannon, it's your tweet.
It is my tweet. Of note is cultural juxtaposition. When I was a Christian, in my day-to-day life, I was almost never forced into justification of my belief. Once I became an atheist, however, people started demanding one. To me, this speaks distinctly towards the cultural bias regarding belief.
And my one-word response to that tweet was amen, which I love to say because I also love to remind people that it's not a religious word at all. It just shows your assent or agreement. But that tweet demonstrates it's so true. And it was, I loved it as soon as you did it, because in a day-to-day life, I never had to justify my belief, not once. And yet now it happens fairly regularly. And now, granted, we're doing a show, and the show is, if you would like to tell us what you believe and why, if you would like to be the person who does the thing that we were rarely asked to do in day-to-day life, which is defend your belief, then by all means call in and do that. But even in that case, this isn't day-to-day life. We're not going around knocking on your door asking you, have you stopped believing in Jesus? Or, could you please provide the proof and evidence that shows that you're actually correct? We don't do that. It's call in. And there was a theist on Twitter who just couldn't get it. And I was like, call in. I'm getting ready to go live here in 28 minutes. I don't have time to argue on Twitter. I'll just call in. I'll explain it to you. Because by and large, if you are part of the majority, you are not likely to have to justify yourself to anyone. It's assumed, when you move into a new neighborhood, at least, in the United States, you move into a new neighborhood, somebody's going to say, hey, what church you go to, or invite you to their church. It's just assumed that you're not a godless heathen. It's assumed that you're some sort of theistic person like them. And it has this privileged position, both with regard to whether or not you're likely to get elected, whether or not you are, when serving as a member of government, whether you're going to be taken more seriously. When you walk around, it's, hey, we're going to swear. Do you swear, so help me God? Do you swear on a Bible? All of these things are all evidence of us being steeped in a theism by default culture. Correct. And it's not true. It's not who we are. And that's the reason we do this show. And that's the reason I wanted to show that tweet, because.
Well, I appreciate it, because I think that one of the things that people take for granted is that, especially theists, is that their position is perceived as sort of the default, and anything deviating from what permeates the culture seems like, if you're deviating from what's the perceived majority of culture, then and only then do you need to provide justifications, which I think brings it to the forefront. And it's something more theists should think about, is that they aren't often challenged to provide justification, because it's just perceived as the default position that most people within their cultural context, and your mileage may vary based on your individual cultural context, is to believe. But where I grew up, at least, and I would say probably where you are in Texas, that would be the case, that you don't need to provide justifications for your beliefs en masse, at least in your day-to-day life, up until you deviate from what permeates the culture. And it's just something worth thinking about, I think.
And it popped up in my head that, think about the people who are raised in a family of theists, and then they stop believing. All of a sudden, the entire family is now a gang wanting that person. Quite often, not every time, not everybody's family is the same, wanting that person to justify their belief. And it doesn't work the other way around, because when you try, please prepare to watch The Atheist Experience live from Austin, Texas, and somewhere in Canada on February 28th, 2021. And you will see that when people are asked to defend their beliefs, it fails. And instead, in many cases, they'll turn it around. And I can't count the number of times it's been, well, you don't have a justification for any sort of morality, so you can't say anything at all, which to me is equivalent to, I just got my ass kicked with reason and I don't have any sort of response left, so I'm just going to accuse you of something and pretend like I won.
Yeah. And when you don't deviate from the cultural context, even in the same sort of family scenario that you brought up, when somebody says, okay, I'm a Christian too, just like the rest of us, you're not asked, okay, why? Why are you a Christian?
When I walk
what
down
did you do to come to that conclusion? You're just accepted that is the accurate and correct conclusion without requirement to provide justification. So that's what you become used to.
Yep. And when I walked down the aisle at age of 5 to accept Jesus in my heart, it was a celebration, because now I'm a part of all the rest of them. Right. And now the opposite has happened, because now I am apart from all of the rest of them.
Right. It's worth thinking about. It's interesting, I thought.
Well, Let's get, unless you got something else to add, let's get some calls.
No, if I have anything else to add, I'll tweet about it.